Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Midnight News, broadcasting to you live from Algiers. I'm your host, Miriam Zien, and here are your headlines for tonight. The UN General Assembly overwhelmingly endorsed a resolution to join for the Palestinian entity to join the organization, marking a historic step towards realization. Next, Gaza's death toll climbs amid 6 Zionist massacres, resulting in 39 deaths, and the UN urges to address the humanitarian crisis. And the Polisario Front celebrates the 51st anniversary with renewed focus on Sahrawi sovereignty and independence. Welcome back to the program. At the outset, the United Nations General Assembly overwhelmingly voted in favor of a Palestinian bid to become a full UN member. 143 members voted in favor of the resolution with 25 abstentions and 9 rejections, a clear mandate for Palestinian inclusion.
مسجل وسوف نباشر الآن عملية التصويت.
An overwhelming majority in the United Nations General Assembly on Friday considered that the Palestinians have the right to full membership in the international organization and decided to grant the State of Palestine some additional rights. Here are some of the changes in status that Palestine will have a right to later this year. Palestine will have the right to
be seated among member states in alphabetical order, make statements on behalf of a group, submit proposals and amendments and introduce them, co-sponsor proposals and amendments including on behalf of a group, propose items to be included in the provisional agenda, request the inclusion of supplementary or additional items in the agenda, have members elected as officers in the plenary and the main committees of the General Assembly, full and effective participation in UN conferences.
Analysts say that this represents the culmination of the decades-long Palestinian struggle to gain international recognition of its legitimate rights. They add that Palestine gaining this tremendous momentum from the endorsement in the highest international representative body reaffirms the justice of its cause and the legitimacy of its claims in accordance with the principles of international law and the Charter of the United Nations. However, granting Palestinian membership requires a recommendation from the Security Council, and none of the upgrades in status will take effect until the new session of the Assembly opens on September the 10th.
A resolution adopted by the United Nations General Assembly urged the UN Security Council to reconsider the matter favorably and in light of the 1948 advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice. The UNGA resolution also reiterated the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, their right to establish their independent state, and its steadfast support for achieving a just and a lasting peace in the Middle East on the basis of relevant UN resolutions, including the Arab Peace Initiative and the two-state solution along the 1967 borders. Palestinian ambassador to the UN Riyad Mansour hailed the recent UN majority vote granting full membership to Palestine as a historic step towards realizing their UN guaranteed rights. He emphasized Palestinian resilience against displacement efforts and urged global support for their quest for comprehensive peace. Mansour also called for a Gaza ceasefire, stressing widespread solidarity with the Palestinian cause.
As your vote today, of course, says a lot about your solidarity with Palestine. but also about who you are and what you stand for. It matters, and I know an overwhelming majority of you will stand again with the Palestinian people in their hour of need, and you will stand for just and lasting peace for the benefit of all. In simple words, voting yes is the right thing to do. Occupation and colonialism and death and destructions are not our fate. They are imposed on us, but freedom is our sole destiny. We want peace. Our freedom is not an obstacle to peace. It is the only path leading to it.
In the same context, Riyad Mansour further asserted that the Zionist occupation vehemently opposes the establishment of a Palestinian state, resorting to ethnic cleansing to undermine this right. Let's take a listen.
Our right to self-determination, to independent statehood, to membership of these United Nations cannot be subject to an Israeli veto. They are not up for negotiations. They are our inherent rights as Palestinians. Israel is clear that it wants to destroy Palestinian statehood. What does it mean to be for the two-state solution if you allow for the destruction of the Palestinian state? A yes vote is a vote for Palestinian existence. It is not against any state, but it is against the attempts to deprive us of our state. That is why the Israeli government is so opposed to it, because they oppose our independence and the two-state solution altogether.
President of the United Nations General Assembly, Dennis Francis, said that the situation in the Middle East is deteriorating terrifyingly as a result of the escalation in Gaza, adding that we must work to protect civilians and release detainees in Gaza unconditionally. Dennis Francis also urged parties to do their best to reach a ceasefire agreement in Gaza.
Decades ago, the situation in the Middle East marked the first significant crisis for the newly established United Nations. Since then, for almost the entire lifespan of this organization, peace in the region and for the people of Palestine in particular has remained elusive. Today, this untenable situation continues to deteriorate at alarming speed, bringing countless innocent victims into its deadly fold and pushing the region further to the brink of full-scale catastrophe.
Delegates of several countries at the United Nations, including Iran, considered the vote in favor of full membership of the State of Palestine to be a decisive resolution to advance the Palestinian position in the United Nations and achieve prospects for a peaceful solution. Let's have a listen.
The Islamic Republic of Iran acknowledged and supports the General Assembly decision today. The decision represents a modest yet crucial step in fulfilling the international community's obligation toward the people of Palestine and restoring some of Palestinians' inherent rights. Palestine has demonstrated its commitment to peace and its ability to fulfill the obligation on the UN Charter. Consequently, it deserves full membership in the United Nations.
And still within the same context, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas welcomed the vote of the UN General Assembly in favor of Palestine's full membership in the organization. Abbas stressed that this overwhelming international vote in favor of the right of the Palestinian people is conclusive evidence that the world stands united behind the values of truth, justice, freedom, and peace that the Palestinian cause represents, and against the continuing crimes of the occupation against the Palestinian people, their land, and their sanctities.
The resolution is in line with international law and expresses the international consensus in isolating the occupation, its crimes, and its serious violations of international legitimacy. This overwhelming international vote in favor of the right of the Palestinian people is irrefutable evidence that the world stands united behind the values of truth, justice, freedom, and peace that the Palestinian cause represents, and against the occupation's continuing crimes against the Palestinian people, their land, and their sanctities. In light of this vote, the State of Palestine will continue its endeavor to obtain full membership in the United Nations through a decision of the Security Council and a call on countries that have not yet recognized the State of Palestine to do so.
We're still on air, so stay here for more news updates after this little break. Welcome back. Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza announced on Friday that the death toll from the Zionist war on the Strip had risen to 34,943 martyrs and 78,572 wounded since October 7, 2023. The ministry said in its daily statistical report that the occupation committed 6 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip, killing 39 and injuring 58 during the past 24 hours. The Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor has condemned the Israeli assault on Rafah, which has entered its 4th day, labeling Washington's characterization of the operation as limited, as misleading and disrespectful to civilian lives. The monitor highlighted the heavy toll on Palestinian civilians, including killings, starvation and displacement amid global silence and American support. According to the observatory statement, the death toll in Rafah has reached 97. The UNICEF has revealed that over 100,000 individuals have fled the city of Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip over the past 5 days amid the ongoing crisis. In a statement, UNICEF expressed concern that fuel shortage could halt humanitarian relief efforts in Gaza within days. It also warned of an imminent food shortage in southern Gaza, urging immediate action to prevent fatalities among children.
For 5 days, no fuel and virtually no humanitarian aid has entered the Gaza Strip, and we are scraping the bottom of the barrel. This is already a huge issue for the population and for all humanitarian actors, but in a matter of days, if this is not corrected, the lack of fuel will really grind the whole humanitarian operation to a halt.
The head of the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Gaza, Georgios Petropoulos, raised alarms about the potential halt of the organization's humanitarian operations. He highlighted the current imminent closure of 113 health facilities due to fuel depletion, signaling a critical threat to essential services. Let's take a listen.
In the next day or so, if we don't have fuel, we are going to lose functioning of 5 Ministry of Health hospitals, 5 field hospitals, almost 30 ambulances, 70 primary healthcare centers run by UNRWA and other partners, and 10 mobile clinics providing immunization, trauma care, and malnutrition services, as well as 23 medical facilities in Al Mawasi, which, as you know, is where hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have sought shelter.
Palestinian factions have declared unwavering backing for the Palestinian resistance, urging them to take all necessary measures to confront the Zionist occupation forces and safeguard their people. The Monitoring Committee for Palestinian and Islamic National Forces highlighted the dire situation faced by Palestinians, particularly in Gaza, amidst a systematic campaign of invasion by the occupying forces, urging international and UN agencies to facilitate the opening of crossings. And the U.S. decision to halt weapon shipments to the occupying entity ignited Zionist anger, highlighting the profound discord between President Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu. More details with Marwa Bilaywar.
After the Al-Aqsa crisis, President Biden visited occupied territories to show support, sharing a photo embracing Prime Minister Netanyahu. Their alliance seemed strong until divisions over Gaza emerged, and Netanyahu's divergence from the U.S. stance on Gaza's restrictions led to discord. Despite these events, Washington continued its unwavering diplomatic support for the Zionist policies. President Biden faced mounting international pressure from within his administration, the U.S. public opinion, and elite circles, exacerbated by Zionist aggression and significant civilian casualties. Concerns heightened as the occupation launched a ground invasion in Rafah, densely populated with displaced Palestinians. A U.S. official revealed to Reuters that President Biden had consistently put pressure on Netanyahu to prioritize civilian protection in Gaza. The U.S. decision to suspend weapon shipments was linked to an intense April 4th phone call following the tragic killing of 7 relief organization employees. Despite strong warnings during the call, Zionist defiance was evident, as seen in the occupation army's attack on eastern Rafah. In response to prior warnings, the White House suspended the initial shipment of arms to the occupied territories last week. President Biden acknowledged Palestinian civilian deaths caused by U.S. bombs. Suspending a second shipment increased pressure on the strategic ally. Netanyahu's provocative response, vowing to fight with fingernails if needed, raises doubts about the entity's resilience without U.S. support. It raises questions about whether the aggressive goals were achieved with Western weaponry or if they can truly sustain themselves with their fingernails.
Moving on to Algeria, the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, has confirmed that Algeria has developed an important strategy to boost the mining sector by reviewing the legislative framework and expanding the mining base and updating the mapping of mineral resources. In a speech he delivered on the occasion of the double anniversary of the nationalization of mines in Algeria and the creation of the Algerian Company for Research and Mining Exploitation, Mr. Arqab stressed that through these measures, Algeria aims to raise the added value of the mining sector and reduce the import bill.
To boost the sector, an important strategy has been adopted. which consists of defining the main priorities, foremost among which the review of the legislative framework and the expansion of the country's mining base through the preparation of a program of mining exploration, as well as the development and updating of the mapping of mineral resources, in addition to completing large-scale and structuring projects and promoting human resources capital. And we are all aware of what the mining sector can provide for the enrichment of various transformation industries.
يوفر للدولة مئات الملايين من الدولارات.
The Energy and Mines Minister also stressed that the prospects of the mining sector in Algeria are promising thanks to the large expertise and experience among the sector's executives and workers. Let's take a listen.
إني لعلى يقين بأن الآفاق.
I am convinced that the promising prospects in this field, thanks to the large expertise and experience and the mobilization of the executives and workers of the sector to implement the strategy which aims to carry on the search and exploration and the renewal of our mining reserves, as well as the modernization of the projects of transformation industry, such as the Garage Bilat iron factory and the zinc and lead mine in Wada Mizur, Tel Hamza in Bijaya, and the phosphate in Bled al-Hidba in Tibessa, and Wadi al-Kibrit in Suqahras, which goes until the province of Annaba.
In the same context, 3 agreements and contracts in the fields of mining and metallurgical projects in Garaj Bilat, Tala Hamza, Wada Mizur and Bashar were signed between national companies and international partners. The signing took place on the sidelines of the ceremony celebrating the 58th anniversary of the nationalization of mines and the 57th anniversary of the creation of the National Research Company and Mining Operations Sanarem at the International Conference Center Abdellatif Rahal, supervised by the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab. And today marks the 51st anniversary of the founding of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Seguia al-Hamra and Rio de Oro, known as the Polisario Front, by the Sahrawi people. As they reflect on past achievements, there is a renewed commitment to sovereignty and independence. Hussam Barkan.
The Sahrawi people commemorate the 51st anniversary of the founding of the Polisario Front, amid significant international and regional changes, which have galvanized support for the Polisario Front's goals and ideals. The Front's steadfast leadership has propelled the Sahrawi cause forward, garnering momentum and attention at all levels. Since resuming armed struggle on November 13, 2020, in response to the Moroccan violations of the ceasefire agreement, the Sahrawi people, under the Polisario banner, have continued their determined fight against the Moroccan occupation. This resumption of armed struggle has revitalized the Sahrawi issue both diplomatically and in the media. A pivotal decision came on October 13, 2019, following the adoption of Security Council Resolution 2494. The Polisario Front announced its reconsideration of participation in the entire UN peace process, marking a significant shift in strategy. This decision, according to Sahrawi diplomats, strengthened their position and challenged the intransigence of the Moroccan occupying state. Despite obstacles, the Polisario Front remains committed to its goal of achieving sovereignty and independence for Western Sahara. As they commemorate the 51st anniversary, the Sahrawi people stand resolute, ready to continue their struggle until all occupied territories are reclaimed. The anniversary of the Polisario Front serves as a reminder of the Sahrawi people's unwavering commitment to their cause. As they commemorate this milestone, they reaffirm their determination to achieve sovereignty and independence for Western Sahara.
The Chadian Electoral Commission has declared interim President Mohamed Idriss Déby as the winner of the presidential elections held on May 6, securing a decisive victory in the first round with 61% of the votes. Head of the National Electoral Management Agency confirmed that Déby garnered 61% of the votes, surpassing the 50% threshold required to avoid a runoff. However, ahead of the official announcement, Prime Minister and opposition candidate Succès Masra claimed victory, alleging election malpractice. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued a warning regarding the potential for a new Russian ground assault on the northeastern Kharkiv region. Speaking at a joint press conference with Slovak President Zuzana Kaputova, Zelensky expressed readiness of Ukrainian forces for any such scenario. Zelensky cautioned that Moscow might deploy additional forces near Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, potentially initiating a new front in the ongoing conflict that has persisted in the eastern and southern regions.
Росія почала нову хвилю контрнаступальних дій на цьому напрямку.
Russia started a new wave of offensive actions in the Kharkiv region. Ukraine met them there with troops, brigades, and artillery. It is important to understand that they can increase and bring more forces in this direction. It is a fact, but our military and military commanders were aware of it and considered its forces in order to meet the enemy with artillery fire.
Для того, щоб зустріти вогнем ворога.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight's program. Thank you for tuning in and have a good night.